members. Alan, thank you very much. I have the honour and privilege to present my report for this year, up until July 2020. We have heard the word unprecedented a number of times in the last few months, but I make no apology for repeating it now. Never before have we been driven to holding the Society's annual general meeting by this virtual method, with only two real people, our secretary and his wife, in the room where the meeting is technically being held, and with all other participating members in their homes or elsewhere. I thank you all for making these unusual efforts to attend, and I'm sorry that I shall not be able to hear the loud applause with which I'm sure you'll greet this chairman's report when I finish. Well, seriously, I do hope that all of our members remain in good health. We have all suffered to varying degrees by the COVID-19 lockdown. For some of us, the inconveniences have been minor. For others, the problems have been more grave. As restrictions are lifted, I hope that all members will emerge with renewed optimism about the future, about the United Kingdom and Oman, while realizing that that future will not be the normal of the past, but a new normal in many respects. The second half of the year under review has, of course, been radically impacted by the constraints imposed as a result of COVID-19. Before these constraints took effect, society activities continued with their usual energy, while at the same time undergoing important changes. The main single event during that period was, of course, the death of His Majesty Sultan Qaboos bin Saeed in January, which affected all of us deeply. Institutionally, the Society was deeply saddened by the passing of a remarkable national leader, one who had contributed substantially and continuously to the friendship between Oman and the UK, and a ruler who had been a major benefactor both to the Society itself and to a number of British and other organisations. At the individual level, some of us have been privileged to know His late Majesty personally and have come to admire his extraordinary characteristics of wisdom, generosity, and kindness. We have sent our greetings to His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, and we now give our warmest good wishes to him for the success of his reign, as well as our hopes for good outcomes for the Omani people as they face the challenges of the changed circumstances post-COVID-19. We recall also with sadness the death of Dr. Noel Gukhian, formerly chairman of the Society and also a former ambassador in Muscat. He was a widower, having sadly lost his wife Lorna a few years ago. We send our sincere condolences to their children. Although now it seems a different world, I should like to recall the Society's events of autumn 2019. We enjoyed an excellent annual lunch in October, and we were delighted to welcome Dr. Abdullah Al-Harasi, head of Oman Radio and Television, and the Right Hon. Sir Alan Duncan MP, as our Omani and British guests of honour, respectively. 120 members and their guests enjoyed a fine meal and the opportunity to meet up again with old friends. Our thanks go to Geoffrey Brindle for stepping in to oversee the arrangements for the lunch, held once again in the RAF Club. Our lecture programme resumed in the autumn, and we began on an experimental basis to hold some of our lectures at lunchtime. This was in response to requests received from some members who encountered transportation problems, for example, the slowness and scarcity of late evening trains, in attending lectures in the evening. Attendance at these lunchtime lectures varied. Were it not for the suspension of lectures in 34 Sackville Street as a result of COVID-19, we would probably have continued the experiment a little longer to see if a pattern would be established. As it is, as restrictions on gatherings are gradually lifted, we shall have to take a radical new look at our lecture programme. Our lectures have in the past been a very successful part of our activities, but I suspect that in an age of social distancing, we are going to have to develop new ways of bringing together the skills and experience of our lecturers and the enthusiasm of our members to hear them. The Society's other activities continued with customary energy. These included the scheme for giving young students on their gap year before university the opportunity to work as assistant teachers in the Sultan School in Muscat, the language training program for students of Arabic to study at the Institute of Manah near Niswa, and the various activities of the New Generation Group, the NGG. We particularly value the need to look forward as well as to the past and to spread mutual understanding of our two countries among the up-and-coming members of our communities. I extend special thanks to our trustees Ollie Blake and Ma'an Wahi for their efforts with the NGG, and to Lizzie Simpson, whom a few months ago we welcomed onto the Board of Trustees. Lizzie has worked hard for the New Generation Group for some years, particularly in organising the exchange visits of NGG delegations. Through the year, the trustees have been keen to integrate the NGG into the mainstream of the society in order to avoid an arbitrary distinction between our mature and our younger members, and also from a belief that senior members enjoy participating in events organised under NGG auspices, and indeed vice versa. Autumn of last year also saw a couple of innovations. We were grateful to Matthew Wright, a British Loan Service officer in Oman, for organising in September a talk and reception in Salalah, the first time the Society has had an event in Dhofar. We also supported an exhibition of artwork created by Violet Astor, entitled Wild Oman in Muscat in November. The trustees have considered whether to build a stronger presence in Oman itself and concluded that we should remain, in essence, a London-based society, while we do not exclude future events in Oman if opportunities present themselves. In any case, there is already in Oman the Oman-Britain Friendship Association, OBFA, to which I shall return in a few minutes. The other innovation was to hold two events outside London to add to our usual support for Omani students' events at British universities. One was a very successful photograph exhibition held in the Archers Hall in Edinburgh in October, the first time the Society has operated north of the border. The other was when a small group of Society's staff and members were guests at the HQ of Aston Martin to see a Formula One car to be driven by the Omani driver Ahmed Al-Harthi. All power to Omani petrol heads. While maintaining our London base, as I've just said, I hope that we shall be able in future to stage events elsewhere in the UK, responding to requests from some of our members outside the capital. Our grants programme continued to be a central plank in our platform. Through it, we have supported a wide range of projects, many of them related to natural history research. We are particularly proud to support, through the grants programme, an annual lecture at the Royal Geographical Society on an Omani theme, the 2019 lecture being on the Oman Botanic Gardens. As you would expect, not all grant winners have been able to spend their allocations so far this year, but I should still like to encourage people to bid for money for activities which contribute to our charitable objectives. Before I move on from 2019, I must mention our website. Last year, I reported that we were on the verge of completing a total overhaul of our website with consequential changes for our system of registering and paying for membership, booking for places for lectures, and so on. I'm delighted to report now that the new website, ao-soc.org, was launched in November, and members, over 700 in fact, have responded well to the requests to move over to the new direct debit system for paying subscriptions. If you haven't registered your membership online, or if you know a fellow member who hasn't, please do so, since otherwise we can't communicate with you electronically, and you miss these lovely online activities that we now offer. Everything, of course, changed in March. Our gap year students had to come home, the lecture programme was put on hold, and plans that we were developing for a photo exhibition to mark 50 years since the Renaissance of 1970 have also had to be placed for the moment on a back shelf. However, trustees and the Society's staff were determined that Society itself should not go into cold storage. We have moved swiftly into the world of Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and other uses of the internet and online platforms. When lockdown began, we had already started Arabic language courses in our headquarters in 34 Sackville Street, and these have flourished in the Zoom configuration. In fact, with student numbers and the choice of courses growing significantly. We have held 2 webinars under NGG auspices and 2 others on political economic themes. We have introduced podcast interviews and the online insight articles, as well as the OBBC's spotlight items. As a new activity which can both be easily managed online and will help us, we hope, engage further with young people interested in Oman, we have arranged an essay competition for sixth form pupils in partnership with the online publication Arab Digest. The close relationship between the society and the business-oriented Oman Britain Business Council, the OBBC, the initials I used just now, and its counterpart, the Oman Britain Friendship Association, OBFA, based in Muscat, has been strengthened during the past year. A joint seminar took place in July, followed by a reception at 34 Sackville Street, which was attended by His Highness, now His Majesty, Sayyid Haytham bin Tariq. We have introduced a system which automatically links corporate membership of the Society with membership of the OBBC, and we are in contact with leading members of OBFA in order to ensure that future activities in the Oman Britain business sector respond effectively to the needs of young entrepreneurs in changed circumstances which the private sector will face post-COVID-19. More generally, as we think about what will be the new normal, trustees are still considering how the future will look for the society. I suspect it will be some time, probably only when an effective vaccine is demonstrated and in widespread use, before it will be possible to resume lectures, Arabic classes in the headquarters in Sackville Street, and similar gatherings. Even when we do, perhaps fewer members will want to attend. Probably we shall have to introduce hybrid methods of operation, combining online virtual attendance with actual, though distanced presence. Travel to and from Oman is likely to be more difficult and more expensive, and this will have implications for our gap year and Arabic students programs, and for those researchers who apply for assistance from our grant program. We shall keep members informed as we reach conclusions for the next steps as government rules and guidance develop. Our trustees and staff have seen several personnel changes during the year. After a number of years' service, Louise Hosking retired from the board at the end of last October. A trustee since 2013, Louise had been managing the lecture programme for 5 years and had done so with great success. Witness both the long list of distinguished and interesting lecturers and the full room in 34 Sackville Street on most of those occasions. At the end of today's annual general meeting, we shall say goodbye from the board, but not, I hope, from membership of the Society, to Richard Owens, Ian Kendrick and Matthew Foster. Matt has been a trustee since 2017. He helped set up the Oman Britain Business Council and has taken care of its link with the Society. His company has now taken him to work in Qatar. We thank him for his contribution. Ian Kendrick will, I'm sure, be known to many, perhaps all of you, having been a trustee since 2011 and a major contributor to the Society's activities, including the organisation of lectures and events from 2012 to 2014, and the Society's library. We particularly thank him now, since he has just completed a history of the Society, which will be published as an annex to this year's review, of which he was also formerly editor. And he has embarked on a programme for digitising our library collection. As for Richard Owens, it is hard to find words of adequate appreciation. He was a founder member of the Society when it started in 1976, having first come to Oman in 1973. He lived in Oman for about 10 years from 1985 and rejoined the Society's committee when he returned to London in 1996. And he has been on the committee and then the Board of Trustees ever since. He was on secretary from 1998 till 2008, making him the longest serving on sec of the Society. And this was at a time when the Society had no paid employees, so all the activities were organised by officers. In addition to arranging major events, including those attended by royalty, Richard supervised significant developments in the Society, including the move to our present headquarters in Sackville Street, the start of the website, the registration as a company, the start of the annual review, the creation of the New Generation Group, and the growth of the annual lunches. He has also played a major role in 2013 to 15, when the Society operated with a management committee following the unexpected resignation of the then chairman. In recent years, his work as chairman of the Grants Subcommittee has been invaluable. Richard, we salute you and we thank you.
Yeah.
In anticipation of these departures, we've recruited 4 new members onto the Board of Trustees: Scott Dixon, Jane Kinnimont, Debbie Martin, and Lizzie Simpson. I pay tribute to all of our trustees, each of whom actively supervises a particular portfolio of the Society's operations. And I pay tribute too to our loyal and hardworking staff, in particular for the way that they have adapted to the current circumstances of working from home and handling the Society's new online presence.
Again.
I know I should not pick out individual skills, but how I appreciate Nick's calm efficiency and Dina's dulcet tones as she introduces the week's podcast. Nick joined us last October and instantly, it seems, found his feet in managing the office. Dina has been in the office a few months longer, and her competence, primarily with the NGG, but now in all spheres, is much appreciated. Backing them up have been Clara Bamberger, events officer from February till September last year, and a number of interns: Callum Prince-Smith, Zahra Beg, Hamza Lamki, and Sarika Breeze, the latter two still with us. Their contribution has also been very valuable, and our thanks go to them all. This report has been longer than usual, mainly because we have had unusual circumstances to deal with. I thank you for your patience in listening. For many of us, the future is uncertain, but I'm confident that the Society has the resilience to meet present challenges. I wish you all good health and happiness.